Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Rant Radio, episode 623, coming to you on Monday, October 6th. We're going to talk about USC football and where they stand through 5 games. Last week, we put out a form. You guys, the Rotbots, were able to vote in it. We're going to go over your answers, our answers, and so much more to kind of judge the vibes of the USC Trojans right now. As always, you can follow us on social media at Rant Troy, email us, ranttroy@fansite.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, perhaps joined along with my co-host, but I'm not sure, Alicia D'Artola.
Well, I couldn't remember if are we bringing it back or are we not?
Well, we can still say the 7227 together, I think.
Okay, let's try it again then.
Yeah, okay. And our phone number, 818-643-7227. Nice. There we go. Perfect. We're before we get into the vibes and everything, can we just... What the hell just happened in college football over the weekend?
The vibes of college football are WTF.
God. 0-4 UCLA, not just like upsetting Penn State, but like thoroughly outplaying Penn State, out-coaching Penn State, out-everything Penn State. What world is this?
It's always the quiet weekends. Like, this was the weekend that was billed as just a little bit more, like, fewer big matchups as compared to last week. But it's always that quiet weekend.
Yeah.
Where some, like, crazy stuff happens. And, you know, I'm going to be honest. Like, Florida beating Texas did not surprise me. I wrote last week, I wrote the, like, upset alert kind of things. And Florida beating Texas was on my list because going to the Swamp and a Florida team that, even though they're 1-3, like, has talent, and Texas not playing well on the road and all of Texas's issues, that one didn't surprise me. I sort of saw it coming. But UCLA beating Penn State, no one could have seen that coming. No one on earth could have seen that coming. It just defies logic and understanding, and but that's also why we love college football, right?
Yeah.
Because stuff like this happened. You know, every once in a while, the most unexpected result happens. Every once in a while, an FCS team goes to the Big House and beats a top 10 Michigan team. And every once in a while, a lowly Stanford team comes to the Coliseum and beats the number 1 team in the country, USC. And inexplicably, the worst team in college football, arguably, through 4 weeks, punches Penn State in the mouth.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Our friends over at the What's Brewing show, Mark in the chat asked, so the What's Brewing is gone for real? Man, that's a shame. We will hear more from the mouth themselves. Jake Merrifield, special guest later in the show to talk about whether or not What's Brewing show is going to come back after their big win over Penn State. So stay tuned for that. Right before the mailbag, we'll talk to Jake. But yeah, crazy week in college football. The poll is completely upside down. Left is right, up is down. Texas becomes the quickest preseason AP number 1 team to fall out of the AP top 25.
USC no longer holds that distinction.
No,
it took USC in 2012. Yeah. I think it was 12 weeks to fall out of the ranking entirely.
Yeah. Here we are in week 7, and Texas is out of there.
Yep.
Yeah, and did they have an unfinished business campaign? Someone should look that up.
No, because because it was
should,
Arch's first season. Like, you know.
Yeah,
but maybe somebody did utter those words.
Maybe someone uttered those words. Someone will find it. Preseason number 1, number 2, and number 4, all unranked. And not only unranked, all 3 of those teams have 1 combined power conference win between all of them.
That's the crazy thing.
That's Clemson, who murdered Bill Belichick's North Carolina, which does that even count as a power conference win?
Can we just recognize the Mad Libs that is this college football season? That Texas, Penn State, and Clemson are all unranked with one power conference win between the three of them.
Yeah.
And that one win was Clemson beating Bill Belichick's North Carolina. Like, excuse me, what?
It seriously does not make any sense. We are in a weird reality in college football, which of course leads us to a super chat that we just got. Big ups to Douglas Doodle Dude. Cheers. We love you. Douglas Doodle Dude says, love the craziness of college football. Love the Trojans and love what you guys do. Keep it up and fight on. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's same. I love the craziness of college football. That's why I prefer college football to the NFL. So,
yeah,
you know, crazy stuff happens in the NFL, but it doesn't hit quite like what Saturday hit like.
West Texas Mike says 1964 Ole Miss tumbled out of the AP poll after 2 weeks. Are we counting teams that weren't integrated? I feel like we shouldn't. You know what I mean? Does it really count? Does it really count if you only got a bunch of Jim Bobs?
I mean, yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying what we're all thinking. Either way, I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now. Alicia, things are looking up for good old Michael, good old Underdog, because a lot of stuff going on today. It is a Monday. What does that mean? It means that there is football in the pro ranks today, and I'm super excited about it because I am playing over at Underdog Fantasy, my favorite daily fantasy app, and you can join me over there as well. Flex your skills, flex your ball knowledge, all of that stuff. Even with flex picks over at Underdog Fantasy, mix and match with players on different teams, different sports. Pick whether their stat projections will go higher or lower. And this week, tonight, Monday night, I'm going Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Higher than 13.55 fantasy points. Josh Hines Allen, the real Josh Allen, lower than 2.5 total tackles. And Nick Bolton, higher than 7.5 total tackles. You can join me and start making your picks over at Underdog. Download the app today and sign up with the promo code Reign of Troy to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code Reign of Troy. $100. They've upped it. It wasn't that much before. Now it's $100. So Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. And present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Alicia, let's get into talking about one of my favorite things right now. I hope it's one of your favorite things. It's, you know, we originally in the off season, we talked about, or beginning of the season, we talked about, we're sunsetting over under. People weren't happy. So we're like, well, we've got this thing called the Rotometer. And we brought back over under, but you know, we're sticking with the good old Rotometer. This week, folks, we've got to go through the Rotometer. The Rotbots have chimed in on the Rotometer rating, the confidence rating in every single USC unit on the team. We're just going to run through these. Lisa's going to make her picks. I'm going to make mine. We'll give you where the Rotbots are and sort of average it out to see what it really stands at. Alicia, let's talk to the quarterbacks. Jaden Mayava, really. No knock on Hassan Longstreet, but Jaden Mayava is the starter right now. The quarterback room, where do you stand on the Rotometer? What are your vibes? What's your confidence on a 0 to 10 scale? Where are you?
My confidence is it's pretty high in the quarterback. I want to go like as high as a 9. which is fitting because Jade Mayava is the 9th ranked quarterback in the country in PFF. ESPN recently did a ranking of quarterbacks in the country, and they put him number 1. And I don't really necessarily have argument against that. I think he's been playing extremely well. I think that we as USC fans see his lesser moments, and so we sort of, I think that people jump to the conclusion that he, he's missing passes here or there, and that is a fault against him or whatever. But I think that on the whole, very few quarterbacks in college football are making as few mistakes as he does on a game-by-game basis. Mm-hmm. He looks confident. He's completing throws that are just super high quality.
Yeah.
He hasn't really, put the turnover thing into the discussion.
Yeah.
I think a quarterback throwing 1 interception in his first 5 games of the season compared to where we were last year as far as him being a turnover machine, like the improvement is extreme. Mm-hmm. So I don't think I could be much happier with USC's quarterback situation. My worry this year coming in was that USC would have Mayava being a turnover machine, and that eventually Longstreet would have to sort of get thrown in, and he's a freshman, and how would he look? And I think now we're in October, and I feel like Mayava is playing as well as any quarterback in the country, and having seen some cameos from Longstreet, my anxiety about having to throw him in is much lower than it was. So
yeah, 100%.
The room as a whole, it's just like.
So where are you going? What's your?
I'll go with a 9. I'll go with a 9.
Going with a 9.
Yeah.
Okay, so a 9 for Alicia there. I thought about this. To me, a 10 on this scale is like, you've got Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You've got Matt Leinart kind of thing, right? I'm not going that high. I still think that there's room for Mayava to grow, and there's room for him to grow by playing really well against really, really, really elite defenses. We haven't seen him play those teams yet so far this season. Illinois, a challenge on the road, but like their defense is not Michigan's and it's not Notre Dame's. So I will hold out a little bit until then. So I will give him an 8, but you add in how good he's been so far. You add in how good Hassan Longstreet has been behind him. I'm feeling good enough to make this an 8.5. I'll go 8.5 right now.
All right.
So we'll lock in 8.5. The Rotbots, you guys had your say, and you said 8.2. Put it all together, it's an average for Jade Mayava of 8.6. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty
good. Yeah. 100%. Hold on. I got that somewhere.
You got it?
Somewhere. Where is it?
Pretty good.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go to the running backs. Alicia, I'll start with this one. I think this is the best USC running back room we have seen since the stable. So, what are you saying? That's 2007? Am I crazy?
And
that's 18 years. Like, that sounds nuts because there's been a lot of really good running back rooms.
And the thing is, like, the top level quality here outdoes anything USC had in the stable.
Yeah.
It's wild because I think in the beginning I would have thought that like this is the best room since Travis Dye and Austin Jones.
Yeah.
But Eli Sanders is just simply better than Austin Jones.
Yes.
More explosive. So
the only concern I have is depth.
Yes, and Brian Jackson's injury definitely has played a role there because we haven't really gotten to see him fill that third running back role, and we have seen King Miller get thrown in there, but still very limited action for him. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is a little bit not deep. But then again, like when we have seen King Miller, he looks perfectly capable of being a guy. If they gave him more carries, I think he'd do fine.
Yeah.
They're just not really giving him very many carries.
I guess my concern there is like, if there is an injury to Wayman Jordan and Eli Sanders, can King Miller carry the load of first team reps? I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing is, like, what you're talking about is not one injury. You're talking about two. Not
like, really though.
You
SC
lose
was
Wayman
in
Jordan
split backs for most of the first drive last week against Illinois. Mind you, they probably wouldn't go in split backs if you lose one of those guys.
I was going to say, I think that is a function of having the two that they have,
Sure.
and that if Wayman Jordan went down injured, knock on wood, or Eli Sanders went down injured, knock on wood, that the other one would simply be like the way that they've been doing this running back rotation has been a little bit more balanced than what we've seen in the past. Mm-hmm. And I do think that's a reflection of how good both of them have been.
Yeah.
But I just think that whichever one was out, the other one would just get the bulk of that load. And then if Brian Jackson is healthy or King Miller is out there, that they would take on sort of number 2 reps. But I don't think those reps would be significantly more. I think they would be fewer reps than Eli Sanders is getting.
Sure. No, I agree. I am going to go 8.75. Strictly because I would go 9 if it was a triumvirate with King
Jackson.
Miller at the 4th spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if your depth guy was the 4th guy instead of the 3rd guy, I think I would go 9+. But I'm going to go 8.75. Where are you?
I will go 8.5, and I would love to give this room a 9.
Mm-hmm.
I'm docking them, and it's not even them. I'm docking Wayman Jordan because the fumbles are a problem.
Yeah.
And realistically, and I never want to put, an individual play on an individual outcome on an individual player, but like Wayman Jordan got away with the fumble earlier in the season. His fumble against Illinois arguably loses USC that game. In a game where USC's defense couldn't get a stop.
In a game where SC was 1 play away.
Where USC's offense needed to be perfect. And that fumble is very, very costly to USC. So he needs to hold on to the ball. He can't, USC can't afford to have their running backs fumbling. So I dock them down to an 8.5.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot there. I don't worry about the fumbles as much. He's fumbled twice.
Yeah.
It's a small sample size over 5 games, right?
2 fumbles in 5 games.
2 fumbles in 5 games seems like a lot, absolutely. But if it ends up being the only fumbles he has all year, that's not a
fine,
lot.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's still got to improve there and pay that off. The Rotbots go 8.3, which is an average of 8.5 for the running backs in the Rotometer. Let's go to wide receivers. What do you got for this wide receiver core?
I looked up like PFF grades for this just to get a sense of I looked up PFF grades and then sort of averaged them out across units, and I didn't realize that Mekhi Lemon is the top rated wide receiver in college football right now if you take PFF grades.
Yeah. I buy it.
I mean, it's not that I don't buy it. It's that, like,
Jeremiah Smith is really good.
I was going to say, there's a lot of really good receivers out there, and so it's not that I thought that Lemon wasn't up there with the best of them. I just didn't realize that he was above all of them. Mm-hmm. If you had told me he was top 10, I would have said absolutely yes. Top 5, absolutely yes. But, like, I didn't realize that he was sort of leading the pack. And I just think he's such a player. He's such a playmaker, so reliable. He has carried the load for USC. He's been wide receiver number 1. Obviously, Jacoby Lane's injury has been unfortunate in terms of his ability to establish himself as the go-to guy, but it sort of makes what Mekhi Lemon has done over the past couple of weeks even more impressive, knowing that he hasn't really had Jacoby Lane taking any attention from the defense away, and he's still been producing the numbers that he has been producing. So Mekhi Lemon feels like he's starting to feel like a name that we're going to have to throw in competition with the impossibility of naming the best wide receivers at USC this century. Mm-hmm. It feels like he's starting to creep up there as like, you know, somebody who's going to be mentioned alongside the
Steve
Robert
Smiths
Woods
and the Dwayne Jarrett's,
yeah, and you know, Juju Smith-Schusters and like Marquise Lee's, like, you know, it's pretty wild. But I see that from him. Lane's injury, like Jacoby Lane's injury, is the big bummer here, because if Lane was healthy, I think you could argue that USC's 1-2 is certainly up there with, you know, put him against anyone else's 1-2 in the country. I guess the problem is USC doesn't have the depth that we worried about USC finding a third.
Yeah.
And I think that Tanook Hines has come in and been a very admirable third. My favorite thing about Tanook Hines is that he's not really getting any volume in terms of targets or catches, but I notice him a lot because he is such a willing and capable downfield blocker, which for a true freshman receiver is not something I necessarily expect all the time.
Sure.
So big ups to Tanook Hines for that. He's able to pop up with a big catch pretty much every game. But it still very much feels like USC has two guys, and then, you know.
So what's your Rotometer at? You've gone like 12 minutes on the receivers.
I'm sorry. My Rotometer is at a... I'm going to go 9 just because I think with Lemon and Lane, you don't need any more. You don't need more than those two at this point. The depth is a little bit scary, but I really do like Tanook Hines. Yeah, I'll go 9.
If this was only about Lemon, it would be a 10.
Yeah.
If it was only about Lemon and Lane and they were both healthy, it would be a 9.5. But this is about the receiving core as a whole. And I like what Tanook Hines has absolutely done. He's a great number 3. My problem here is the depth, and that's where my concern is. If you're going to run a receiving core that is prominently running out 3 guys more than anybody else, far and away 3 guys, right? You cannot withstand an injury there. And an injury to Jacoby Lane is worrisome. Puts a lot of weight on the shoulders of Mekhi Lemon, and he can handle it, absolutely, 1,000%. But, like, you're just one more injury away from danger zone here. So I'm going to go back to 8.5, strictly on the depth. The depth is the only thing that scares me there. It's kind of like the opposite of last year. Last year, there was Mekhi Lemon stepped up towards the end of the year, but like there were a bunch of, you know, number 2 and number 3 guys.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of them to the point where like you had a bunch of depth to almost like things would have weirdly been better if there was some more focus. If, you know, not that you don't root for an injury, obviously this is not what I'm saying, but like if they had to just run with maybe 5 guys instead of 9 guys or whatever they had last year, maybe it would have been just a little bit more focused a bit. So, yeah, let's go 8.5. The Rotbots go 8.6. So an average of 8.7 on the Rotometer for the wide receivers. Let's go to tight ends. Alicia, I know this is your favorite thing. I know you're going to go super long on this one. So I'm just going to put mine in here and then step aside and let you go. 7.5.
I love USC's tight ends this year. Mm-hmm. Again, in my research, Lake McCree is 6th among all tight ends nationally, among tight ends that have at least 10 targets.
In what? In
6th in PFF grade.
Gotcha.
For tight ends with at least 10 targets.
Yep, that's good.
He's very good, and Walker Lyons is very good, and they have been such a reliable duo over the middle of the field this year. It is, I think, made USC's offense so much more dynamic, so much more dangerous, and they have been such a good safety blanket for Jaden Mayava. He has not made it easy for them, and they have by and large come through with some really spectacular catches. I think they do a good job blocking. They're obviously not perfect. Few tight ends are perfect at blocking, but I think they're perfectly capable, and they get the job done. I am who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am who I am. So I can do no less than an 8.5.
8.5. Okay.
8.5.
The Rotbots are big fans of the tight ends as well. 8.1, which gives an average of 8 flat.
For the record, so I averaged out USC's position groups in terms of their PFF rating, and behind, obviously, the one of Mayava. These are players that have had more than 100 snaps this season. McCree and Lyons together. McCree's PFF grade is 80.9. Lyons is 73.6. They are the second highest average of units as far as the offense goes. So I think USC is just getting really, really solid contributions from that position.
Yeah. Let's go to the offensive line. Where are you with the offensive line? I feel like they've been way better than we thought that they would be this season. And I think that because of that, I feel way more confident in them now than I did then at the start of the year.
I feel exponentially more confident in them than I did at the start of the year. I think that Zach Hansen, considering what he has to work with, considering the injuries, we went into the season talking about how USC couldn't afford injuries at the offensive line, and so of course that's where the injuries have come. And despite that, the offensive line is held up. Now, they don't rate very well, to be fair. Their average for PFF is 63.6. Tobias Raymond ranks 20th in the Big Ten. He's USC's highest rated offensive lineman. Elijah Page not far behind him. So, I think as individuals, I don't think they're anything special as individuals. And I think that there are a couple potential liabilities as individuals. But as a unit, they're getting the job done relatively well.
Yeah.
They are allowing USC's offense, the skill position players, to function. And they're not perfect by any means, but they are functional, which is, again, a word that I use a lot. It's a word that I was very worried that they would not be a functional unit this season, and they have been more than functional. I do struggle with my confidence level in them, though, because the Michigan game...
Well, so keep in mind, I probably should have said this before. We're going to do these vibe checks on every unit essentially after every bye week. So after this bye week, in 3 weeks, because SC plays 2 games and then it has another bye week, so another one of those in a few weeks. October 27th, we'll have that episode. And then the following, the last one, will be after the regular season, but before the bowl game. So that's why there's 3 columns on the YouTube screen here. So we'll be able to track how these things progress throughout the year. I almost wish we did this at the beginning of the season because that would be interesting to see where it was going into it, right? But so keep that in mind. Talk about the Michigan and the Notre Dame game. We're going to be able to judge this right away after those 2 games as well.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a good point to say. I shouldn't be grading them based on what I think is going to happen in the Michigan game because we don't know what's going to happen in the Michigan game, to be totally fair. So I'll give them a 7, and I kind of like 7. If it's 7 out of 10 is 70, which is a C, which is sort of your average, right? I think that if nothing else, what we have seen from Lincoln Riley's scheme is that offensive line is either mitigated or, performed at a level that may not be always impressive, but is tends to be functional, like I said. So, 7. I don't think this offensive line is ever going to be a dominant offensive line.
Yeah.
But they're certainly good enough to lead USC, to give USC's offense the opportunity to win most of the remaining games on their schedule.
100%. Yeah. SC has allowed 4 sacks this season. But I think one of the things that we've always talked about, we talked about this, 2017, 2018, when we were talking about things about opportunity rate and where SC could be offensively. And we always talked about if they could only run the ball like Oklahoma State, if they could only have an offensive line like Oklahoma's. We always talked about that. Then Lincoln Riley comes over. He doesn't bring Bill Bedenbaugh. But if you look at the numbers in terms of run blocking, this offensive line is doing what that offensive line did back in 2017, 2018. USC right now, number 1 in the Big Ten in yards per carry, number 1 nationally in rushing success rate, number 1 nationally in stuff rate. They have the least amount of 0 or negative rushing plays of anyone in the country on a per play basis. They are number 1 in power success rate. So short yardage, they're doing really well running the football there. They're 4th in line yards. And this was an offensive line that, we were all crapping our pants about in August. And they are not a liability. And we know that run blocking is easier than pass blocking, right? But they've only allowed 4 sacks in 5 games. They're going to get really tested in these next 2 weeks there. So this may come down, but I'm going to go a 7.5. 7.5 right now. Do I feel as good about them as I do as the 2005 USC offensive line? Obviously not. But I feel really good for what they are. So 7.5. What do the Rotbots have to say about the offensive line? 6.4. So Rotbots, not as high in the O-line as we are.
And I get that because, again...
A lot of football left to be played.
Again, I think there have been individuals who have had rough times of it. But again, like I said, as a unit, the unit is holding up. Even with the injuries, the unit is holding up.
Yeah. Let's go to the offense as a whole. USC's offense as a whole. Lisa, where do you feel your confidence with the offense?
I'm going to go a solid 8.
Okay.
And that is so. I would love to give them a 9. I think in another universe and maybe at the end of the season, depending on how results go, I will feel confident in giving them a 9. But right now, what we have seen USC do is look really good against defenses that they ought to look really good against. The quarterback is playing super well. The wide receivers are playing super well. The tight ends are playing super well. The running backs are incredible, and the offensive line is doing its job. My worry is that, I think that the potential for shooting themselves in the foot always remains. The penalty situation is always a worry. So I think that, I'm not going to go too high on the offense simply because the individual pieces I feel very confident in. The 11 on the field on any given play being totally in sync and sort of being that 2005 offense where they're just blowing everybody away. I don't know that we have proof that this unit can be reliable on that level. So I feel like 8 is harsh, but it is also vibes. So
okay, I respect that. I think that what SC is doing right now in terms of production is really damn good, but they haven't faced the toughest defenses yet. You've got to see that. I think it's easy to sit here and still say, yeah, but Mayava threw a bunch of picks last year, and Miller Moss did too, and how does this offense show that they're not last year, and all that kind of stuff, right? At the same time, I went into the season thinking that the defense was going to be the surer thing of the two. I thought the defense was going to be where you could rely on, and the offense was a hope, wait, and see. And the reality is, through 5 games, this is like mathematically one of USC's greatest offenses in the history of the program. Mathematically through 5 games. So like small sample size, right?
Yeah.
But number 1 in success rate in the country. They're scoring a bunch. They get in the end zone a bunch. They go on long drives. They have shot themselves in the foot. Absolutely. But they're just doing it at a rate less than their peers right now. So I'm going to go 9. I feel really good about the offense. I feel really good about the offense to go into anywhere and give you 27 points even on a bad night. And 27 points on a bad night should be able to put you in position to win the football game. And on a good night, that's 50 points. You know what I mean? So I'm going with a 9. The Rotbots on the offense, little less than that. 7.9 is where they went. So the average drops down to 8.3. You and I are a little more optimistic than the Rotbots on a lot of these offensive numbers. Let's wrap up with the offense with Lincoln Riley as an offensive coordinator. Strictly as an offensive coordinator. It's the only thing we're judging him on here. We're gauging the vibes.
I can't even think of like play calling complaints that I've had. Mm-hmm. I think that obviously not necessarily offensive coordinator thing, but the touchdown against Illinois coming on a shot to the end zone at that stage.
That's hard for me to figure out. Do you judge that as a head coach thing or an offensive coordinator? I think it's probably a head coach thing.
But even that, like, it results in a touchdown. So, if you're an offensive coordinator, your job is to score touchdowns. Yeah. I think he's done an exceptional job. I'm also going to give him a lot of credit here because we saw what Jaden Mayava was before this year. And I think that you can just clearly see a development in him. I think that and we don't how many of these decisions were decisions and how many of them were just the circumstances of how things go. But the decision to come into this season with a stripped down wide receiver core with 2 guys that they were just going to lean on and not have the too many mouths to feed situation of last season has worked beautifully. Yeah. I think that the tight ends have been integrated into this offense as well as I can remember at USC in a long, long time, as far as their contributions to the passing attack, their contributions to the running attack. They are being utilized the way I want tight ends to be utilized, and it's leaning into their strengths instead of their weaknesses. Yes. As an offensive coordinator, he is dealing with an offensive line that, as we've talked about, it has some individual weak spots, but has performed well as a unit. I think in part because of the way that his scheme works, because of the way that he's called his plays. I'm going to give him a 9. I have no complaints. I can't even think of a reason why I wouldn't give him a 10. I just don't want to give him a 10.
I agree. The Rotbots have chimed in with an 8.1 here. So we're both going to go 9. That bounces out to 8.7. To me, you judge an offensive coordinator by their ability to have the offense be productive. SC is excelling in that. Their ability to mitigate the deficiencies. I think SC is doing a fantastic job in that part because we talked about depth being an issue at running back, and we haven't seen it because he's gotten a lot out of King Miller when you've needed to see it. You've gotten the going split backs, knowing that he's got the ability to do that with the running backs. And then the receivers, I think going to a smaller core has been a good decision. it will be something that could backfire, absolutely, if injuries continue to be a thing. If Jacoby Lane's going to play through injuries and still catch balls, then who cares? But you know what I mean? Like, and everything with the offensive line has not been an issue. And part of it is because he's put them in situations to succeed. This is a scheme that makes it easier on the offensive line, especially when it comes to run blocking. There's a reason that all of his run metrics are really good
and have always been really good.
Yes, because they're going to find ways to force teams into light boxes, and they're going to run through that, and they're going to throw into space and all that stuff. They're doing all of those things like you would want them to do. So a lot of green up on the screen, but let's get to special teams before we get to the defense. Lisa, where's your confidence in special teams right now? I took the words right out of my mouth.
I think the best thing I can say about special teams is
you haven't had to think about it?
Think about special teams at all.
That's where I am,
and that's pretty cool because USC did bring in a hyped kicker, and he's been injured, and so they've had a no-name guy out there, Ryan Sayeri, who has been good. Like no complaint. He's missed one kick, I think.
Yeah.
Like I think he's been perfectly acceptable in that role as a kickoff specialist. He's been very good. I don't know that we've seen much of anything in terms of kick returns or punt returns, but also, I don't know how many opportunities I can't even think of punts that USC has forced. So.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
I've got nothing. I
can't tell if that makes it a 10 or if that just makes it a 5. Like I don't know.
USC hasn't had to punt, but when they have, the punter has been.
Can I be really honest with you?
I didn't remember his name. I had to go. I just looked it up.
Genuinely have no idea.
Sam Johnson is the punter.
Sure.
Yeah.
No disrespect.
He has 5 punts this season. They're averaging 45 yards per punt. So,
yeah.
He's doing a really good job when he is punting. It's just we have seen him so rarely that, and Sayeri has been so fine and
perfectly fine.
There's been literally nothing to talk about on special teams.
The only issue has been those penalties. In the punt return game, the 2 penalties, and both of them I think were ones that I don't even have an issue with.
Okay, here's a question. Mekhi Lemon is USC's primary punt returner. He has kickoff returner. He has 7 returns. Mm-hmm. He's averaging 20 yards per return. Like, that's fine.
For kick returns, I guess. Yeah. I'm just gonna go 6'5", and maybe that's. Maybe that's not giving them enough credit. I don't know. I just don't have to think about the special teams, like not positively or negatively or anything. And like I'll just 6'5". That's where I'm going.
The advanced metrics don't really like USC from a special teams perspective, but I never know what they're actually grading.
I think
on that front.
When I think one of the things that special teams factors in a lot is field position, like starting field position, and your positive, negative changes in that, like net field position, is where it's looking at, is one of those things. And how you are affecting that.
Which is, I don't feel like... USC special teams has not really had an impact on field position.
Yeah.
But...
Whereas Czaplicki was incredible with that last year. Yeah.
But I think also, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, the punts that I remember... maybe the one critique we could have is Mekhi Lemon, way too often fair catching a punt at the 10-yard line.
Sure.
But I do think that's like the meta at this point in football is to field it at the 10 instead of letting the risk of having it down. So
stand at the 10. If it's over your head, let it go. If it's at or in front of you, catch it.
Yeah. So
where do you stand?
7?
We'll just look for like a 9-hour episode at this point.
7?
7. Okay.
I
The Rotbots were at 6.7. 6.7.
6.7.
They were at 6.7, which is an average of 6.7 also.
Not to extend this podcast out any longer, and I know you'll love that, but like I have recently decided that I am going to fully embrace my the generational sort of dynamic of taking all of these random Gen Alpha, Gen Z
Brain
terms and just like using them, like destroying them by using them. As a millennial, I am going to do the 6-7 thing every time.
Yeah.
Because why not? Then they'll stop using 6-7 and then it'll be fine.
I think that
This is how what was the
that's
one
some aura farming I can get behind.
what was the one that from Big Brother that we were
Mega bussin'?
bussin'. We used bussin' so much. And now I never hear that word anymore. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's always funny to me, like the most of the terms come from AAVE, right? But like, which bussin', bet, etc. But like, then you get like stuff that like aura farming, like
or skibbity toilet.
Like this is not
Sigma.
cultural appropriation. This is just purely brain rot. Purely brain rot. All right. Interior defensive line. Where are you with them?
Oh, okay, we had fun with the offense. Here we go. Okay. USC's highest rated interior defensive line, according to PFF, is Jide Abasiri with a 67.3. The unit average is 64.02. Jide Abasiri is 36th in the Big Ten. Notice that I've moved from national rankings to Big Ten rankings. 36th in the Big Ten. That is USC's best interior defensive lineman as far as PFF is concerned. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I think I have to go with a 5.
Okay. I think
they're pushed around too easily. The run fits. I still, I think part of it could just be linebacker play. That's a bigger issue. But
yeah,
USC brought in big bodies. Those big bodies have not factored in. They have whether it's in terms of earning playing time or playing well when they are in. Yeah. It's hard to argue for Keyshawn Silver or Jaw Jarrett to get in the game when they get in the game, they're not that good. And, it's tough when Devin Tompkins is, again, I think an admirable player, but still just not a high-level defensive lineman.
Yeah.
Jakeem Stewart is raw.
He's raw, but of all the interior defensive linemen who are going to tickle your pickle, it's Jakeem Stewart.
Yes. But he is a true freshman, and he does have the true freshman sort of learning curve that he needs to go on. And I think that it's a problem. It's a problem that outside of Jakeem Stewart, I am not excited by a single interior defensive lineman by what I have seen from them this season.
No, I agree. I am going to echo the just solid 5. I don't feel terribly about the defensive line, but I don't feel overly positive either. And like, just a truly neutral 5, I think is the way to go for me here. The Rotbots agree. They're at 5.1. 5.1. So 5, 5, and 5.1 all the way across on the interior defensive line.
Wow, another 5. Very, very few people will get that joke, but if you get that, then you're one of my people.
Okay, sir. Wait, that's not Siri. That's
what's his name?
No,
the guy from what was his name? Heisem.
Yeah. Edge rushers. Where you at?
Okay.
By the way, West Texas Mike says, of all the defensive linemen are going to tickle her, it's just a turn of phrase. Who's going to get you excited?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Edge guys. I do like Fountain. I do think Lucas is playing well, and Shelby I think is has gotten in there and created some havoc. USC is one of the best teams in terms of sacks this season nationally, ranked 7th, second in the Big Ten. A lot of that was because in the first 4 games, USC as a pass rush, particularly those edge guys, were incredible. They were awesome.
Yeah.
I'm worried because the Illinois game, they were far from awesome. They were as anonymous as edges at USC have ever been.
Yeah.
And that is a problem because USC, they were far and like with the exception of the safeties who we're going to talk about, like they were far and away the most exciting, reliable, and optimism producing unit on the team, on the defense for me. And seeing them be just completely taken out of the game against Illinois has really shaken my confidence in them. Mm-hmm. We'll see what they do against Michigan and against future teams. But, you know, I wish that I felt more confident in them. Having said that, we have seen them produce against 4 of the 5 teams that they've played. Mm-hmm. And, you know, teams further down the line in this season, maybe they will be anonymous against Michigan and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But I think that they won't be held anonymous, you know, in every game. I think they will be factors in more games than they're not. So I'm going to go with a 7.
Okay.
I think I'm being finding a way to balance the production with what we saw against Illinois as far as a confidence shaker. Mm-hmm. I feel fine with a 7.
The pre-Illinois, I think this is like an 8.
Yeah, it's 8 or 9.
Yeah, but that I think really damages it a bit for me. I'm gonna go 6.5. I just really worry about last year's inability for the edge rushers to be a factor, and the Illinois game just felt like the ineffectiveness of the front of any sort of, you know, pass rush or anything like that. So like that's where I get worried. But before that, yeah, absolutely, this is like an 8.5 or something like that. So that's damaging for them. The Illinois game, they've got to be able to bounce back and show that was a one-time deal. If they show that's a one-time deal, then you know that you'll feel better about them going forward. But right now, 6.5 in some ways feels generous, and in other ways it doesn't, because it was 1 real bad game and 4 really good games. So the Rotbots 5.9, which is an average of 6.5 all the way across for us. Let's go to linebackers. Elisa, I'll go first here. This is the hardest one for me because I think it's unfair. If it was Eric Gentry, it's a 9.5. If it's anybody else, I think we're at a 2.5. And so, like, do you just have to average those out? 9.5 and 2.5? What is that? Is that a 6?
I was sort of going to lean 6.5.
6 still seems high to me. 6 seems high for the unit, but also, like, you can't ignore how good Eric Gentry is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have confidence in the linebackers, but I have a hell of a lot of confidence in Eric Gentry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, balancing that out and figuring that out is difficult for me. So, like, I think I'll go a 6. Just because it is the balance between the 9.5 and the 2.5. But it's not like I feel good about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am going a 6.5. I like you. I think Eric Gentry is a hell of a player. He is. I think the problem is that Eric Gentry is still a little bit of a unicorn. He is.
There's times where he's an edge rusher.
Yes, and you know, functionally, I think that he, like, if you took Gentry and put a really stout, big, sort of run-stopping linebacker next to him, you would be enjoying a hell of a lot of success because you would make up for what Gentry lacks in power you could make up for it. The problem is that next to Gentry, you have Desmond Stevens, who is...
He had a lot of hopes for in the preseason.
I'll just say is playing timid.
Yeah.
Getting taken out of plays. He gets swallowed up. He can't get off a block.
Desmond Stevens, the bizarro offensive line. Felt no confidence in the offensive line going into the season. Now, don't even have to worry about them. They're performing really, really well. Desmond Stevens, I felt a lot of confidence with. We saw that interception on Drew Aller last year against Penn State. Like, there were flashes of this kid is really good. Gerard Martinez from USCFootball.com raved about him for years. Like, a lot of reasons to be happy. Coaching staff talked about him, and in the off season, and what have we seen? Nothing. He is essentially looked not too dissimilar from Mason Cobb from 2 years ago, if maybe even less proactive than that.
Well, I don't think Mason Cobb is a good comparison, because like Mason Cobb's problem is that he was
I mostly mean like in terms of like, this is the guy that's going to be the rock of this linebacker unit, and then all of a sudden realizing actually he's not.
Yeah. Well, like what sucks is that I too, like you, got sucked into the not worrying about Stevens because they didn't bring in a linebacker. They didn't bring in a linebacker who was going to come in and compete for the starting job. Tamir Robinson, we came in and we knew he was, going to be a little bit of the depth piece and maybe a development piece. Their choice to not pursue a starting linebacker seemed to me a vote of confidence in Desmond Stevens.
Yes.
That vote of confidence has backfired. Because the problem here is that Desmond Stevens is still probably their best option. I do like Jaden Walker. I think Jaden Walker is a lot closer to what I was talking about as far as like a guy who can sort of be big and powerful in the middle, but he's also, it's not like he's come in and lit the world on fire when he's gotten playing time.
Yeah.
And outside of that, you have literally no other options. So you're backed into a corner where you can't exactly take Desmond Stevens out, because it's not like you can really improve. You don't have, unless Tamir Robinson starts to come on hot in the second half of the season, like I think you're sort of stuck, which is my problem with this unit is like, it feels stuck. It feels like it is what it is. It will simply be, like you said, the 9 of Gentry and the 2 of Stevens, and you got to live with the deficiencies that brings in. But that was like an off-season mistake that USC is now, the chickens have come home to roost on that. Mm-hmm. And it's really disappointing because if they had gone out, and to be fair, like they went out and got linebackers who have been more or less disappointing in terms of Mason Cobb. But even like EMA, Easton Mascarenas-Arnold, like I think Easton Mascarenas-Arnold would be somebody that if you just plugged him in there, replugged him in there, like this defense would be significantly better, just because he's not an exceptional linebacker, but like he's a wins above replacement kind of guy,
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way of looking at it. You know who you need? Kalooks. You need a Kalooks.
Yeah. Good. What I would give for a Michael Hutchings.
That too. Yeah, absolutely. The route bots on the linebackers said 5.2. You said 6.5. I said 6. Routbot 5.2, which is an average of 5.9. Let's get to the cornerbacks. I'll just write in my 1 right now. Alicia, where are you?
Okay, I have some more notes from PFF here.
Uh-oh.
USC's highest rated corner. These are, again, I only grab numbers from players who with 100 more snaps this season. Highest graded corner is DeCarlos Nicholson at 66.2. The next highest rated corner is Kevin Longstreet at 63.5.
I'm in danger.
That's not good. Nicholson is ranked 34th in the Big Ten in terms of PFF grade. USC's best corner is ranked 34th in the Big Ten.
Is that good? There's a lot of teams in the Big Ten now.
There are a lot of teams in the Big Ten.
There are a lot of teams.
There are a lot of teams in the Big Ten.
A lot of quarterbacks, yeah.
DJ Harvey is the worst qualifying cornerback in the Big Ten.
Yikes.
Braylon Conley is the 8th worst in the Big Ten.
Yikes.
I think the problem with this unit, honestly, is like USC has had at least one guy over the last few years that was as close to either a shutdown corner or close enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Jalen Smith. We had who's the guy who plays for the Mekhi Blackman?
Blackman, yeah.
Somebody else I'm forgetting. Like USC has had a run of having at least one corner that sort of took the pressure off of everybody else, and then you sort of figure out the other side. This unit, DeCarlos Nicholson cannot be your best corner.
Yeah,
he can't.
Ideally, he'd be your Justin Wyatt to your Terrell Thomas. You know what I mean? Like, just he's your steady guy that you're comfortable with, but like Terrell Thomas is your better corner.
Well, just think about it. Like he was like USC's third corner last season.
Yeah.
And like imagine what life is like if he doesn't come back.
I mean,
you know,
who knows? Where's your rating here?
I mean, to be fair to this unit is also suffering from losing Chasen Johnson. But again, would Chasen Johnson have been any better than anybody else in this unit? That's hard to say. So
yeah,
I'm gonna throw a bone to DeCarlos Nicholson because he's doing a much better job than his peers.
Sure.
He should not be your number one corner, but he is. And he's doing a much better job than his peers. Yeah. So I'll give this unit a 2 instead of a 1.
Okay. 2 flat.
Out of respect for the job that DeCarlos Nicholson is doing, given the fact that he should not be your number one corner, and is thus he should not be the one who is responsible for the opposing team's number one receiver.
Yeah. Okay. The Rotbots, considerably more positive than us. 2.4. So you said 2, I said 1. Remember, this is a 0 to 10 scale, so you could go 0 if you wanted to. The Rotbots at 2.4, so the average is 1.8. The Rotometer at 1.8 on the cornerbacks. Remember, this is a confidence scale. This is not a how good are they playing. This is what's your confidence at? Not very much.
I just can't
right now over in the corners. Thomas in the chat says it's kind of alarming that our D coordinator, who was supposed to be a DB whisperer type, can't seem to rally together half decent corner play. You know what's so fascinating about this? I think this is a commonality with coaching. I know everyone says like, oh, if you just hire quarterbacks as head coaches, you have soft teams that are offensive centric. And I think that happens a lot of times. Absolutely. I also think there's a lot of like notable examples where something like this happens. Pete Carroll at SC, DB's guy. He wanted to. He came to SC and he wanted to turn SC into cornerback U.
And it was always the weakest position.
It was always the weakest position on the field.
Yep.
And like Terrell Thomas was good, right? But like Terrell Thomas was not a generational talent, and every other player on every other position had a generational talent during Pete Carroll's tenure.
Well, it's funny because when in the past we've done like the best the USC's best 11 from this past century, and
corner's the toughest one.
Corner was the only one that we were able to put post Pete Carroll players into.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's like Adoree is definitely in.
Yeah, because basically it was like everybody from the Pete Carroll era and then Adoree Jackson.
Yeah, or Adoree and Nickel Roby.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild like that. And then I think of like Steve Spurrier. Steve Spurrier, great offensive coach, great offensive mind. Those South Carolina teams, defensive teams that were wanting to win rock fights, they never had. They had like Alshon Jeffrey, and like that was it on offense. They were all defensive teams. Like it's weird how that happens sometimes. It's very weird how that happens.
But I do think it's fair to call into question the coaching at this stage.
Yeah.
When everybody in the unit is not playing well. Because you can't tell me that every single one of these guys is just a scrub. They're not.
This is one of the things that I wrangle with, and when we get to D'Anton Lynn and a couple of these things, we can talk about it more then. But like, we're gonna have Jake on the show in a few minutes. But like, I had lunch with Jake last week, and we were talking about SC's defense, and like he was making the case, and like this is something that I agree with mostly. That, like, this sounds to him like the defensive issue is strictly D'Anton Lynn doesn't have the guys right now because of injuries at corner, doesn't have the depth, doesn't have the guys that he wants to be playing there, can't play Kamari Ramsey at his natural position at safety, has to play him at nickel, and so he's scraping things together, and so it is a very zone-heavy, cushy defense, hoping that you make teams have to put together a bunch of positive plays and go on drives, upping the likelihood that they will make a mistake at some point, essentially being a bend don't break kind of defense, and that will work against a team like Purdue, who will make the mistake at some point. Absolutely. Did not work against Illinois in the slightest, but I would feel better about that if SC's issues were strictly in terms of coverage because guys were just finding open zones. Against Illinois, like they weren't getting pressure up front either. And when you weren't doing that and the corner stuff, like I have a hard time just saying that it's the corners. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that by far the worst game collectively for USC's corners was the game where USC got the least amount of pressure, because you can succeed on defense with a weak cornerback room if you're putting pressure on a quarterback and making it difficult and not.
But when you have to rely on coverage sacks, and the corners aren't getting the coverage that you want,
then you're stuck.
Yeah, then things are really going downhill there. Let's go to the safeties. Alicia, I find this one to be tough because Kamari Ramsey, if this was, okay, confidence in Kamari Ramsey and Bishop Fitzgerald as your two starting safeties, I think my Rotometer would be somewhat high, maybe a 7 if we're going off of what Bishop Fitzgerald has done so far this season, and we're going off of what Kamari Ramsey did as a safety last year. But that's not the world we live in. Kamari Ramsey has been a nickel. I think we still include him here in the safety talk, but you have to consider him as a nickel, and I don't have a lot of confidence there. Bishop Fitzgerald, I have enough confidence to make a play. Christian Pierce, I really like Christian Pierce. But Christian Pierce, to me, is what you were talking about with DeCarlos Nicholson. Like, Christian Pierce is a fantastic safety to have as your rotational piece. Like, he is a guy who's going to give a max effort. He's gonna be out there. Is he a generational talent? No. But like he's out there and he's trying to make plays as best as he can. He's gonna run dudes down like he did against Illinois. Like he's gonna be in the right position more often than not. I like that. I don't know that he should be your starting safety if this is the defense that you have aspirations of winning the Big Ten with. You know what I mean? Like And so, like, I think for the safeties here, like, I think I'm at like a 4.7. Like, maybe that's generous.
We could not disagree more.
Okay.
A 4.7 is absurd, Michael.
Is that low?
Extremely low. Okay.
Okay.
Here.
Understand this. I'm at a 4.7 strictly because I do not like the way that the safeties are playing within the defense. If we're talking about the safeties as individual players, I like Christian Pierce. I like Bishop Fitzgerald. I like Kamari Ramsey. If I like how they are working in harmony within this defense, and this is, again, confidence. This is not judging them as individual players. This is my confidence in them as a unit.
Your confidence in them. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about the defensive coordinator. You're talking about the scheme. If that's what you're saying. If it's about how the safeties are being used.
That's valid. And we'll get to that when we talk about that.
That's not the safety room, confidence in the safety room, because but
we still we can't ignore how they are being used, especially if we're going to
far and away the best unit on USC's defense in terms of regulars, starters, like here PFF grades the averages for each unit. D-line, interior 64, edge 66, linebacker 69, corner 57, safety 79. Now, that is heavily influenced by Bishop Fitzgerald's 91.7.
Yeah.
He is the number 2 safety in the nation, according to PFF. But Kamari Ramsey and Christian Pierce are 12th and 13th in the Big Ten among safeties in terms of their in terms of their rating. The 3 highest rated players on USC's roster, according to PFF, on USC's defense, according to PFF, are, in order, Bishop Fitzgerald, Kamari Ramsey, and Christian Pierce. So, to me, the safeties are the only unit outside of, giving an edge to the edges, who are actually doing their job at a level that is acceptable.
Okay.
So I gave the edges a 7.
Yeah.
I give the safeties an 8.
An 8.
An 8. And I think one of the problems that USC has is, I agree with you, like, I think USC's best safety pairing would absolutely be Bishop Fitzgerald and Kamari Ramsey. The problem is that when you look at the other DBs that USC has, you can't not have Christian Pierce on the field because he is one of your 3 best DBs. And it's not particularly close.
He's a really good player. Yeah.
So the problem is that, like, unfortunately for Kamari Ramsey, you have to find room for Christian Pierce because he is so much better than any of your other corners. If you are going to line up with, Nicholson, Longstreet, and Marcellus Williams, and have Ramsey and Fitzgerald on the field, you are a worse defense than if you sacrifice Kamari Ramsey to the nickel spot and have Christian Pierce playing safety. Yep. Which is a conundrum. I feel for Danton Lynn on that front because I don't know. It pains me to not have Kamari Ramsey be at his best, be in his best position, but
he's being sacrificed to a certain extent.
He is, and I'm sympathetic to the fact, in my opinion, that Christian Pierce continues to play his way onto the field in a way that the corners, like, I think if they could run a 3 safety look that didn't have Kamari Ramsey in the nickel, like, I think they'd be all about it because they're 3 of USC's best players right now. So I'm giving him an 8. I think there are very few units in terms of every single player in the unit that I feel very confident in terms of, like, those 3. So
I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't. Because in terms of the players themselves, I really like Fitzgerald, Pierce, and Ramsey a lot. My thought is, like, if we are going to judge the offensive line and if we're going to be confident with the offensive line, in part because how they are being used, then I think that we have to give the same respect to the safeties. So me putting them in a 4.7 is, my confidence is not high on them because of how they are being used. And yes, I will hold that against Stanton Lynn in two things when we get there. But I just have a hard time moving it higher, even though I like the individual players. It was the same thing that I did with the linebackers at 5 point. And you know what? I'm going to go 5.2. I will match sorry, not 5.2. I'll just go 5 flat. I misread what I did with the line. I did put the linebackers at 6. I'll put the safeties at 5. I don't think that there is an Eric Gentry at safety in terms of impact. But I will balance out the individual abilities with how the safeties are not maybe making up for the linebackers and the corners' inability to make plays as well. So I'll go with 5. I might be influenced by looking at our rundown and seeing what the Rotbots put, which is 4.4.
Which again, I think I think that's harsh. I think that USC safeties have been the most reliable from a 5-game stretch players on defense at any given time.
I agree to disagree. Defense overall, where are you at? What's your rotometer at?
See, and this is where it is kind of like the offensive line, because I think, what have I given? I gave the interior 5, the edges 7, the linebackers 6.5.
You said 6.5 at linebacker, 2 at corner, 8 at
2,
safety,
and 8 at safety. So, like, I think if we averaged those out, it would be higher than where I'm going.
Okay.
I'm going like a 3.
3 flat,
and I feel kind of generous.
Okay.
3. Because I think individual pieces on this defense I really like, and I have some confidence in. But again, you put all the pieces together and it feels like they are worse than the sum of their parts.
No, I think that's a very good argument. Like I agree with that. I fully agree with that. The corners, in reality, the corners are the one unit where I really don't see anything redeeming right now.
Yeah.
But I do give the corners some grace with they've had injury issues. I understand that, but also that just because you have injuries doesn't mean that I'm more confident in you. That still affects my rotometer grade in terms of confidence, right? So I think that makes sense. That makes sense. Like individually, it's almost like the opposite of last year. Like individually, I felt good about a lot of SC's offensive components.
Yes, but
as a whole, no.
Yeah, it didn't work out as a whole. Yeah,
as a whole.
And like I think about it, like if you took a sort of an average USC defense in the last 20 years, if you put the safety unit into most of those defenses, this safety unit fits right in and is fine. Mm-hmm. If you put the edges into most of those, I think that they fit in just fine. Linebacker, you put Eric Gentry. He's one of the best players on the field, I think, in any defense you put him in. Desmond Stevens not so much, but you know, the problem really does come down to like the corners are catastrophic, and I'm starting to feel like my 5 to the defensive line was too generous. Because again, the more I think about it, the more I just think they're outside of Jakeem Stewart, who is a true freshman who you should not be leaning on, there are no impact players there. So at least there are impact players at edge and linebacker and safety.
Yeah. Okay. This is a tough one for me because this offseason I felt really confident about the defense. And the Illinois game shot that completely to hell. And it's not that they gave up 34 points. It's how they gave up the 34 points. And in a lot of ways, 34 points was pretty good because, my God, they could have given up 55. You know what I mean? Like, the way that game went. So, this defense is good at getting stops in the red zone. They've gotten interceptions in the offensive,
Second
opportunity
nationally
zone.
in red zone defense, by the way.
Yes, SC's very good in defense, in red zone defense. When teams are inside the 40, SC has held teams to field goals and forced turnovers. And I think if they continue to do that, it will make up for a lot of the deficiencies. But when you don't do that, you end up with a horrific scene. And the crazy thing is, like, Illinois was such a horrific scene, and they still got a couple of field goal stops, and they still got a couple of red zone turnovers, and they still give up 34 points and just could not get a true stop if they really needed it. So if you would have took this a week ago, I probably would have just said a flat 5. Right now, I think it is a 3. I think I'm going to agree on the 3.
And I've put this on Twitter. I would love for the Illinois game to have been an outlier that was a reflection of missing players and illness.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier if that was the case.
That can be proven the case, but you've got to do it.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we come back the next time we do this Rotometer update, maybe we will have seen that, and we will be able to judge the defense a little bit more clearly outside of that, that performance. My concern is that performance didn't feel like an outlier to me because it included all of the things that were giving me anxiety about this defense in the first 4 games that they got away with.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't get away with it against Illinois. So, yeah.
I'm very interested to see how the Michigan game goes and how we will come back to the Rotometer on the defensive side of things in a couple of weeks after Michigan and Notre Dame, because I have a working theory that SC's issues on defense are heightened when you face a team that is balanced, which always is going to create a challenge for any defensive coordinator, right? But like when you are, let's give D'Anton Lynn the complete benefit of the doubt here. By the way, the dropouts on the defense at 3.9, so the average is 3.3. 3, and 3.9, average of 3.3. But so we're up to D'Anton Lynn, so we can sort of talk about this. When you look at if you give D'Anton Lynn the benefit of the doubt and say that he's playing the percentages with the hand he's been dealt with, which are the injuries at corner, the like in the chat, Mr. P says that Christian Pierce can't play nickel because he can't play man coverage, and you mentioned, Alicia, in the chat that it makes more sense to move Kamari Ramsey there because of his skill set.
He's
than
the only
Christian
one
Pierce.
I think that has enough of a skill set to do the coverage, like the one-on-one coverage job that a nickel needs to do.
Yeah,
I don't think that Pierce or Fitzgerald are viable to move to nickel.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's give D'Anton Lynn the benefit of the doubt for a second, for argument's sake, and say that that's the case, right? In the sense of like he's playing the hand that he's dealt with, and he's playing the percentages and all this kind of stuff. I think that can work against a team that is not balanced. When you're a balanced offense that can go either way, which you can run into light boxes because they're going to drop everybody back, or they're going to bring guys in the box and then you're just going to throw. Like, if you're truly balanced and can do all those things and you can keep the defense honest, it's real hard for D'Anton Lynn, who is sort of stacking the deck in a certain way to try to play his hand to counter that, right? And so I think that as we get to talk about the Michigan game on Wednesday, I think there's a world where Michigan is not one-dimensional. They're not one-dimensional like they were last year, but they are closer to one-dimensionality than Illinois was, right? Than Purdue was, because Purdue's best player was Devin Mockabee going into that game. But really, when we saw them, like, they were willing to throw the ball a lot with Ryan Brown, so that created the illusion of true balance, right? And so I think the defense might be able to have more success against a team like Michigan, who is not going to be nearly as balanced as Illinois was. But does that mean that they've gotten better? I don't know. It's going to be hard, like... I don't know. Like, and so like you go up against Notre, like, I think that the defense could look a lot better against Michigan and then look a lot worse again against Notre Dame, strictly based on matchups and all that. And some of that's expected because Notre Dame is elite offense, period. But I don't. Either way, I think my confidence in D'Anton Lynn, I think, has taken a hit because I had a lot of confidence in the offseason, and I think that my struggles here is for him to find a solution to the deficiencies that this USC defense has. And I would feel better, and maybe this is stupid. I didn't play football. I did. I played a Turkey Bowl in 2003, so yeah. But maybe I would feel better if if I saw that like SC was blitzing and then getting beat that way. But they were successful with the blitz. You know what I mean? Like, they were successful in an aspect. I might feel better about, like, the Illinois game. But they weren't successful at literally anything in that game defensively. And I think that that's what hurts me in terms, or hurts D'Anton Lynn's rotometer rating in terms of confidence. Because if they would have gotten gashed in the first half and there was improvement throughout the game, some sort of adjustment, some sort of impact, you know, like it didn't. I'm not saying that they needed to, you know, hold Illinois to no first downs in the second half or anything, but like some sort of sight of something working successfully somewhere in some aspect or some sort of improvement.
Literally, all we needed to see was one drive, that last drive.
Yeah, something
change, and like watching UCLA just carve through Penn State's defense.
Yeah.
Illinois got the ball back after USC scored to go ahead and did exactly what they'd been doing all game and did it easily.
Yeah. Going with 3. The match with what I said with the defense, 3. 3 points.
Yeah, I think a 3 is fair.
This kills me because I want to be a big, D'Anton Lynn, banner carrier. Because I really like his upside. I really like what he did last year. Really liked what he did at UCLA 2 years ago.
I have shared this in several places now, but I feel like the USC DC position is like the Defense Against the Dark Arts position at Hogwarts. It's cursed. There's something about it that nobody succeeds.
Yeah. It's the Cubs at third base after Ron Santo.
Sure, yeah, I get that. I'm sure, I get that reference. But every DC that USC has had, bar Clancy Pendergast, has been significantly worse at USC than anywhere else.
Well, Clancy Pendergast 2 was worse than Clancy Pendergast 1.
Yes, that's true. So yeah, it's It sucks. I mean, I was even toying with a 2. I'll throw him the bone of 3 because they are dealing with injuries that certainly don't help.
If it wasn't for injuries, I think it would be a 1 or a 2, a 1.
I mean, not having Kamari Ramsey against Illinois absolutely was not good.
Yes. But would Kamari Ramsey have made a difference if he's playing at nickel? I don't know that he would have.
I guess the thing is, even Kamari Ramsey playing at nickel. Well, actually, that's not even true because nickel was arguably the best DB position during that game the entire way between Longstreet and who was it that came in to replace him and that played pretty well? In a game where you needed one play,
absolutely you can go off the belief that Kamari Ramsey makes that one play. The same thing we talked about Eric Gentry at Minnesota last year.
Yeah.
But you can't... you can't sit here and play that game every time.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, but he is a difference maker. He is an NFL level player that USC didn't have on the field. So
yes.
that is a problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like
Illinois didn't have their difference making defensive back either.
Yeah, and I guess my issue here is that people talk about like the talent deficiencies on this defense. Who's responsible for those talent deficiencies? Like the evaluation on DJ Harvey or the integration of DJ Harvey into this defense has been a failure.
Yeah.
It would be the evaluation and integration of Keyshawn Silver and Jaw Jarrett into this defense have been a failure. I mean, Bishop Fitzgerald is the success story far and away, but
I think it makes it hard when you're relying on transfers too. You need them to hit the ground running. And that's one of the things you're betting on, right? Like these are guys with experience who have played at this level. You're hoping that they can hit the ground running, right?
And that would be, I mean, especially when they're seniors, like DJ Harvey and Bishop Fitzgerald. Bishop Fitzgerald, I guess here's the thing is when you bring in a senior transfer, you are plugging a hole, you are putting in a stopgap, right? Mm-hmm. But in doing so, you are sacrificing live reps development for a younger player. So if you plug in Bishop Fitzgerald, you are, you are not going to see as much Kennedy Urlacher. Now, that's a good thing because Bishop Fitzgerald is playing well enough to justify not giving sort of learning reps to a safety who's maybe not ready to play. But if this season is a throwaway season or whatever that you're looking forward to next season, then you can sort of accept that. If USC was forced to play, Marquise Gallegos or whatever too early, then I would feel differently about the performance of the defense. The problem is USC brought in like DJ Harvey and brought back DeCarlos Nicholson at corner. Now you have 2 one-year redshirt seniors who Nicholson's playing fine, relatively. Mm-hmm. But Harvey has been a complete and utter disaster. So anytime you put Harvey in, you sort of willingly sacrifice more reps for somebody like Marcellus Williams to work through his issues, to learn by doing. Or Braylon Conley, another redshirt freshman, like learn by doing. And if it was just that USC's DBs were their redshirt freshmen and struggling, then I could at least sort of understand how it was all working. Yeah. If USC's defensive line was a bunch of freshmen who were sort of struggling to find consistency, I could live with that as not being on the DC so much. But that's not really what's happening here. Something about the way that Lynn has gathered this collection of players isn't working.
No, I agree. I agree. The good news is for him, there's a lot of the season left. Mm-hmm. And the Rotometer is always going to be something that goes the way of the wind, right? Like your confidence and your vibes and how you're feeling in things are always going to be tied to what have you done for me lately, right? What have you done for me lately? Yeah. Do you get that reference?
Nope.
Eddie. Anyways, the Rotbots had 5.3 for Danton Lynn, by the way. 5.3. So the Rotbots, more confidence in Danton Lynn to turn things around than I think that we do right now. But again, you go out and you beat Michigan 30-10, and we're coming back in a couple of weeks completely talking differently here. So SG's got the ability, and Danton Lynn's got the ability to improve everyone's confidence in him. Absolutely, 1,000%. But you've got to go do it. You got to go do it. All right, last one. Lincoln Riley as a head coach. Where are you at?
Where am I at on Lincoln Riley as a head coach?
Sure.
There was a discussion on Twitter yesterday about I forgot who asked the question. LA Sports Fanatic asked the question, do you still believe in Lincoln Riley? I just want to see what USC fans think and maybe have a discussion. I responded, the jury's still out, but I'm leaning no. The way this season ends could change that. It's year 4. I get that the cupboards were bare, barely. But it shouldn't take this long for a coach to get things right if they're right for the job. So, yeah, I guess I'm going to give Lincoln Riley the same 3 that I gave to Danton Lynn.
Okay.
Even though Lincoln Riley's offense is doing very well, the problem is that Lincoln Riley is responsible for what USC's defense is. Mm-hmm. He is responsible for what USC's roster is. He is responsible for what USC's offensive line is or isn't. Yeah. And he is responsible for the decisions that go into producing a winning football team. And I think this team will win, more games than last year. But it's year 4. It's year 4. We shouldn't be grading USC's defense at a 3.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of context necessary here in the sense of what is my confidence in Lincoln Riley as a head coach in college football?
Oh,
I don't know, maybe a 7.
Yeah, relative.
What is my confidence in him at USC right now? What is my confidence in him to win a national championship? All these things are different, right? But I think for me, in a lot of ways, I'm so torn and pulled in so many different directions in the sense that I feel for Lincoln Riley in that he needed to change things defensively and he needed to be ruthless. He wasn't ruthless. He relied on, we're winning a bunch of games, so I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. And so he brought back Grinch for 2023, which I understand why you could think that was a justified move. Was the wrong move, but I could understand how you could think, I've been winning all these games with him, so why should I change? I understand that. I understand how you can get there. Still the wrong move. He needed to be more ruthless, right? 2023 happens. Essie gets punched in the face. Lincoln Riley gets punched in the face. First time he's ever been punched in the face. He responds. I'm going to go out. I'm going to change things. I'm going to hire all these dudes on defense to be the defensive coaches. And man to man, every single hire, thumbs up. Every single one. We'd say that this is a Ryan Abraham line drive to the gap. You know what I mean? Every single one. And yet the 2014 defense took a big step forward. They weren't horrific, but they took a big step forward and encouraging because of that. But 2025 seems to be like they're taking a step backwards. And I know that it's small sample size, and I know that there's injuries, but he's done the right things, but you're still getting the same results. So at that point, I think it does come to the little things of what's the mentality in terms of travel? Are the dudes motivated for road games? Is the focus here throughout the week and all that stuff? I sort of have to look at those things, right? And I think Lincoln Riley can build a good team. I think Lincoln Riley can build a competitive team. SC was very competitive last year, but they only won 6 games. You can't be that competitive you can't be a team that leads in the first 11 games in the fourth quarter, and the 12th game, you're driving to tie the game with 4 minutes to go. You can't be that team and only have 6 wins. So, like, it comes down to it for me that, like, there are a lot of things to like. There are a lot of improvements that you can see validity in. But when you're still getting the same results, to me, it comes down to everything else at some point. Like, there is one common denominator here. And so, like, my confidence is not high. And, like, I go, like, a 3.5 right now. Like, because even when things are going good, there's still other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 3 point. You want to know what the Rotbots say here? 5.6.
They're more generous than I am.
It is wild to me that, like, how the Rotbots, like, offensive line. I go 7.5. Rotbot 6.4. The safeties went 4.4 to your 8. The Rotbots with the safeties 4.4 to your 8. But yet, the coaches, they're not gloom and doom on the coaches completely.
It's like congressmen. Like, everybody thinks Congress is doing a bad job, but they think their congressman is doing great.
But I think the shocking thing for me is, like, when we see the comments in the chat and everything, and, like, there's a lot of negativity about Lincoln Riley. Lisa, we've got to run through these things because we got a bunch of comments. This is going to end up being like a 2.5 hour episode. We got a bunch of comments in the forum. So some of these were anonymous. This was really hard for me to objectively judge the defense. Saturday was downright horrible. I may have suffered from some recency bias as a result. I still don't think they're as bad as they played on Saturday against Illinois. Travel, early start time, maybe some food poisoning, etc. But they clearly are not as good as I thought before it either. I think my views will be more clear one way or the other after Michigan. Yes, 1,000% agree, which is why we're going to redo this in a couple of weeks. LA Fred writes into the forum, Lincoln Riley is 30-15 so far through 3.5 seasons as head coach, with 8 more games minimum left this year. Pete Carroll was 40-9 through his first 4 seasons as head coach. Both took over when the program was down. Both had a Heisman quarterback early, so many similarities. Carroll recruited far better without the benefit of a transfer portal and clearly developed guys at a much higher level. Riley was a home run hire, but his 45-game tenure thus far has thus been a huge bases loaded and no outs strikeout. That's from LA Fred. Britton in Irvine says, overall, I'm holding at a 5 in the Radomir through the bye week. If I had to rate my satisfaction with my fellow USC alumni and fans, I would give them a 1. Too much panic and not enough understanding of the process. That's Britt in Irvine.
Can I jump in there? Because
yeah.
I totally get what Britt's saying. Like, I understand it, and I think that certainly 5 games into the season when USC is 4-1, like, panicking is maybe an overreaction at this point. I guess my issue with, like, the process is, like, the 76ers saying, trust the process.
Yeah.
You can't keep saying trust the process when you're this far down the line. Like,
right.
I think that a lot of USC fans have, like, hit the reset button on their sort of where they're at in the Lincoln Riley tenure, and I get why, but I think a lot of USC fans reset it with the hiring of Danton Lynn. Like, Lincoln Riley plus Danton Lynn that was year 1, and now we're in year 2 of Lincoln Riley plus Danton Lynn. But the reality is that we are in year 4 of Lincoln Riley. You know, like, we're in year 4. It's important to remember we're in year 4, and I agree with what Kenny said in the chat earlier. If this was any other coach that we hired, like Matt Campbell, for instance, I think he'd be fired if we go 8-4 or worse this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. If we were judging a coach, any other coach that USC could have hired that wasn't of the standard that Riley was, and of the standard that required the contract that Riley got, they would already be gone.
Yeah. No, I agree. And this is why, for me, it comes down to, like, I think SC is good enough to win a lot of games, but you have to do it. We can't sit here and say that they're good enough to compete and play tough in a bunch of close games, right? You got to win those close games. they have 3 tough games coming up. So, like, maybe they'll just, completely change things in the next 3 weeks and win those games. They were also a missed field goal away from, like, don't even care what happened in Illinois. At least you got out of it.
Yeah.
Everything can change. And the thing is, like, everyone's gonna it's very easy in sports fandom to go with the direction of the wind, right? We got a long thing from Aaron. We're going to read this really quick, and then we're going to talk to Jake Merrifields, and then we will do a rapid-fire mailbag and hope that Alicia's camera doesn't die. Because that little bloop, bloop you just heard, that's her camera dying. So, here we go. Aaron says, could write a novel here, but I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Spoiler alert, he did not keep it brief. Love you, Aaron, but this is not brief. Mayava and the offense look great. Lemon and Lane and the tight ends have been awesome. Torn on the running backs because they've been pretty good most of the time, but 2 Waymo fumbles on opening drives can't happen. We'll never know how it changes things, but I was at the Illinois game and their crowd was not confident in their team. I think if we march it right down their throats and score on a TD on the opening drive, coming off their blowout loss, maybe the doubt starts to creep in and maybe we win the game by 14 plus. Can't fumble like that on the road against a ranked team. The offensive line has been really good. Not a ton of pressure on Mayava and good running lanes for the backs. Defense hasn't given me much confidence at all. Not quite the feeling I had under Grinch, although the Illinois game was very Grinch-ish, but not a good unit. I'm confused because all we saw all season was how much bigger off season, how much bigger and stronger we got up front. And the size of our D-line bears that out. So I'm baffled at how we are getting pushed around so much in the run game. I get that their linebackers are undersized, but the line should be more disruptive. The corners, and I disagree with your commentary on the pod that they have the talent, really look like cones out there most of the time. I don't really know what star rating Conley, Harvey, Longstreet, and Williams had coming in, but they just don't look like dudes that should be starting for USC. I played wide receiver at JMU in the late 90s. Go Dukes! And after a tirade, my 13-year-old son asked me in the stands in Illinois if I thought I could catch passes against our corners, and have no doubt that in my 4.6 40 prime, I could have had four catches for 50 yards against SC's DBs. My big picture concern is that through multiple coaches, players, and ADs post-Carroll, this program has not shown the intestinal fortitude, or whatever you want to call it, to gut through games, particularly on the road, on a consistent basis. I don't know if that has something to do with modern college football player playing in LA. I'm gasping at straws here. But it boggles my mind that programs like Indiana, ASU, Ole Miss, etc. regularly have 10-win seasons or have been to a playoff where we are at. When was the last time USC won a road game as an underdog versus a ranked opponent on the road? Literally think it was Washington in 2016. These next 3 games are put up or shut up, and we need to find a way to win 2 out of the 3. Thanks for your pod. Love listening to it. Fight on, Aaron from Madison. I don't disagree with a single thing you said there, bud.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that these next 3 games are put up or shut up. They need to find a way to win 2 out of 3. 1,000%.
And I'm starting
1,000%.
And I hate this because I do think if you split Michigan and Notre Dame, you're still on track for the season.
Mm-hmm. You still control your destiny in the Pac-12 South. Yeah.
But boy, is it starting to feel like Michigan is a must-win.
Yeah, I think so. And it's weird because if you lose to Michigan but you beat Notre Dame, people will feel good about the team.
Yes.
But your chances in the conference go. Woo.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, win them all, huh? That's obviously where you want to go. All right, we are going to bring on our pal Jake Merrifield, who he's been sitting over here this whole time. Like, Jake, how did you keep quiet the whole time? His mic's off, but let's throw to him now. And when we're back here with Jake Merrifield from... Well, what are you from?
That's a good question. As of right now, it is the What's Brewing Show.
Oh.
It will get into why that is, but yeah, as a week ago, it was Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin. After the What's Brewing Show was canceled after no more start, but we've made an executive decision, and we can get into why that is right now, right, Michael?
So the show is back? Because we got an email from Brian.
We're back, baby.
Brian says, so the show is coming back, LOL.
Yeah.
That's Brian from Manhattan Beach. And then we got a Discord message from Jessica saying, like, does this mean What's Brewing is coming back?
Oh, I love it. I love your fans are fans of our show. I love that to death.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
We love you guys.
So, I mean, so I guess just to explain, I mean, it really comes down to this is the most inconceivable, unexplainable turn of events I think that anyone can remember in a college football season recently, right? I mean, UCLA had the worst team in their school history going out there up until the last Saturday. 0-4, the like back-to-back most embarrassing losses ever, combined with a shellacking by Utah in game one. It all culminated in the just absolutely dreadful, horrible, worst Bruin game I've ever experienced as a fan with that New Mexico game where they were, I think, over 2 touchdown favorites and they ended up getting pounded by 25 or something, which led to Deshaun Foster being fired. And then they go to Northwestern, they lose that game. And then, at some point the defensive coordinator walks away, and at some point the offensive coordinator walks away a couple days before this Penn State game. So, and everybody was playing horribly. The defense had really never been worse. Nico Iamaleava hadn't been playing up to, I think, what his standard was or what anybody, and he's hearing all the critiques from across the country. And the UCLA, the guys they brought in weren't playing well, and the guys they already had weren't playing well. And it just was terrible, a terrible turn of events. And so to come into this game against Penn State and for them to play that game in the way that they played it and pretty much just beat Penn State, man to man.
You beat them on the field.
Beat them on the field without a bunch of fluky shit, without a bunch of fluky stuff happening. I mean, that's just, it's inexplicable, unbelievable. And so that led to me making the executive decision of, you know what, if they're going to do this, if they're going to follow up the worst start in school history with one of the, probably the biggest upset in school history in their favor, then we can bring the show back.
Wait, hold on. You're calling this the biggest upset?
I mean, I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, at least in my, I went to school in the 90s, and I can't think of anything even close to this.
I agree. Yeah. No
really
one else can think of any other upset. That's
yeah, I mean, because obviously
very
13-9 was a big one, right? But
I don't know what you're talking about.
That one's not the same as this. This is a different one.
No recollection of what
no
you're
recollection
saying.
of all, of course.
Nothing at
all. So this
all.
beats that in my book, and just FYI.
Wow.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Now, as far as like the joy brought from it and all that stuff and all that, no, I'm not going to go there. But I'm saying just actually, the game on the field.
Sure. Okay. So couple quick questions here before we wrap this thing up. But like,
we're already wrapping up. I just got here. What the hell, Michael? Jeez.
This is Reign of Troy, not Reign of Westwood.
Well, come on. We should change that. We absolutely should change that.
I know.
You want me
like
on the show
changing
more
the
often,
name of podcast.
Demanded of
I
Michael
get it.
and Alicia.
Yeah. Okay.
Penguin likes me on the show. What's wrong with you?
Is there anything that I think SC fans can take away from the UCLA game in the sense of like, is that a precursor of what we should expect late November? At
this point, absolutely not. Now, 3 games from now, whether they win or lose those games, if they look like they're playing better, if they look like they're playing more like this than they were in the first 4 games, then yeah, absolutely. Then they should be on everybody's radar as like a tough out, Yeah. I still don't expect UCLA to be very good record-wise for the rest of the season until I see it with my own ojitos. But if they come out and they're playing hard like this, because that's what was so disheartening about the 0-4 was that last year they had a real rough record and they barely missed a bowl game, but they were playing hard every single game, and you could, there was a lot to be proud of with the effort. This season was the absolute opposite. That's why the entire coaching staff left, so it's crazy. So if they're playing like this in a couple weeks, still playing hard and whatever the score ends up, who knows? Then I think they will be, they have the potential to be a tough out for anybody. But I wouldn't expect it until I see a sustained effort.
Yeah. All right. So what's the future of the pod then? If we're back at What's Brewing Show, like we can say Suck It, What's Bruin show again?
You absolutely can. I think Suck It, it's sometimes hard to be a Bruin is a little bit of a mouthful. You can still go with Suck It, What's Bruin show. I think it's fine.
Suck It, sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin. Sounds like too much of a sentence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so just stay with Suck It, What's Bruin show. Regardless, the whole reason we changed the show was when they were 0-1 against Utah, then I declared, well, there's no way they're going to lose to UNLV in New Mexico. There's absolutely no way. So I said, and then I threw in Northwestern there as a bonus. I said, well, if they're going to be 0-4, then we're just canceling the show, right? We're just canceling the show. Yeah. And I was fully prepared to not podcast again until they hired a coach, which had been, I was really take a 3-month hiatus. But my partner who works over at Bro, and he's a little more delicate than me. I don't know if he could handle the hiatus. So I said I would not be a prima donna and I would soldier on, provided I could change the name and the logo of the show. So that's what the plan was. So we were only going to be, sometimes it's hard to be a Bruin until they hired a new coach. Okay. But now we've already shifted gears.
Okay, so then...
Because this is completely unexpected and inconceivable, it shouldn't have happened, but it did.
What do we need to do to make some sort of bet for you to change your name to Rain of Westwood?
It's not going to happen. No,
nothing.
No, because the thing is that I do my show because I like to do my show, and I'm not going to do it if I'm not engaged to what I'm doing. Sure. And so it's just there's no, and I don't do crazy side bets like that. But so, no, sorry, Michael. Yeah, not going to happen.
You're definitely no one who does.
No one's dictating to me what's on the What's Bruin show / Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin. And by the way, Michael, you didn't mention it, but I actually made my own theme song for Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin to the tune of Tammy Wynette's Stand By Your Man. So if you go back the episode after they lost to Northwestern when we were 0-4 and the show was canceled, if they want to hear me singing, hear me crooning Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin, it's on that show. I think for not being a good singer, I think I did a good job.
Yeah, there you go.
That's toot my own.
Go listen to Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Bruin or What's Bruin show.
That one episode.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, one episode only.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for coming on. This was very important. The Rotbots were curious. I think people are happy for you.
Did we answer what we need to answer?
Yeah, I think so. So let's throw it back to future me.
Wonderful. Hi, Mike.
What? Mike. Calling me Mike.
He knows how to get under your skin.
I don't understand. But thanks, Jake, for hopping on. We appreciate that. As always, Lisa, first pitch has already happened in Milwaukee. We've got to wrap this thing up. So we've got a big mailbag. Let's get to that and get on the road.
You've got mail.
Sexist Mike says we weren't curious and we weren't happy for them.
I'll be honest, I was happy for them. No, I wasn't. I was happy for my friends who are UCLA fans.
Sure. He just probably cut that into a new drop for you.
I know.
Tony in Denora, PA says, Michael, Alicia, this is Tony from Denora, PA. I'm getting over my Red Sox being eliminated from the playoffs. Wasn't expecting a long run, but I just wanted to beat them damn Yankees. So now I'll root for whoever plays them. I'm seeing fans crowing about firing Lincoln. That's crazy. Who would we hire? I see maybe two coaches that I would say okay with, and that would be Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart. That's it, which is not happening. Lincoln's offense is clicking this year. Think about the questions we had going into the season. One was, could Maeva be a consistent quarterback? He has been great. He's in the running for the Heisman, the Maxwell Award. Second question was, could the offensive line get it done? They have been outstanding this year. We have two of the best wide receivers in the nation. Lincoln has done it again in the portal when it comes to running backs. Waymo and Eli Sanders have been a great combo. Lincoln added the tight end back into the offense. Lake is having a good year. So I'm still riding with Lincoln, says Tony from Denora, PA. I think Tony put like his confidence meter is like a 9.5 for Lincoln Riley.
I get where Tony's coming from though, because part of where I'm at is that my confidence in Lincoln Riley is low, but I have accepted the reality of the situation, which is I'm gonna have to deal with it for at least another year, if not two. So what can you do?
All right, we got a voicemail from Scott in Memphis. Here's what he had to say.
Hey, Michael and Alicia, this is Scott from Memphis. It is October the 4th, and UCLA has just taken down Penn State. Congratulations, an incredible win. But not to be negative, but can you believe that UCLA with an interim coaching team, hell, they fired basically everybody, and an awful team talent-wise just took down like a number 8 Penn State, yet Lincoln Riley and the Trojans haven't even come close to that. I don't mean to be negative, but God bless. Think about that for a moment. We haven't had a moment like that, and we have a hell of a team. And he's been there for 4 years. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's start righting this ship with Michigan. But y'all should actually be angry thinking about that. But kudos to UCLA.
Thanks for the call, Scott. As always, we'll pass along those kudos to Jake. So SC hasn't been close. Yes and no. Yes, because SC has not beaten a ranked team out in a true road game outside of the state of California since 2016. Right?
Since Washington?
Yeah, Washington 2016. But they beat LSU last year on a neutral field. But like, if we're talking about close, SC was close last year a million times, even against ranked teams.
They should have beat Penn State last year.
They should have beat Penn State at home last year.
This is the problem, and I agree with Jake that this is like the biggest upset in UCLA history. I think it's one of the most shocking upsets of the century in terms of college football. At the same time, it's frickin' Penn State, and it's frickin' James Franklin. And like Iliam in the chat said, like, James Franklin lost to Clay Helton. USC should have beat James Franklin last year. Okay, like, Penn State is not. Penn State is what they are. Like,
I've got thoughts about this though, because Cameron in the chat says, "Does the Penn State loss validate James Franklin as an overrated head coach?"
The thing is, I don't think he's overrated. I think he just. He is why USC will have a hard time moving on from Lincoln Riley if it doesn't work out. He is why, because realistically,
there's 2 good coaches in college football. Yeah,
realistically, you'll be lucky to get a James Franklin type.
Yeah.
Let alone one who's better than James Franklin.
Yeah. It's funny because you say two good coaches in college football. And even if you want to like go off the 2 that Tony from Denora PA threw out there, Dan Lanning and
Kirby Smart.
Well, Kirby Smart is like 1-7 against Alabama, and Dan Lanning has never won the big game. Mm-hmm. You could say that about him too.
Yeah, and again, like, you know,
so like there are no good head coaches. You know what I mean? Like, obviously there's really good head coaches, but like, everybody has a massive wart on their face.
Championship head coaches are hard to find.
Yes.
I mean, that's Ryan Day.
Extremely. Ryan Day.
They wanted him fired before he got that championship.
They wanted him fired like 2 weeks before he won the national championship.
So, like, you know.
Jim Harbaugh was like, everybody was wanting to get fired. He restructured his contract to save the school money before he won a championship, right? Like,
Sark at Texas is getting, you know, Mr. P in the chat says Sark equals Franklin.
Yeah.
People are asking the question, with James Franklin under so much criticism this weekend, considering that Sark lost to Florida, which again I think was not a totally unexpected result, but like Sark's track record isn't that great either.
Yeah. But like, this is why I think that the Penn State loss in UCLA is so confounding, because this is like, I've heard people like, oh, this proves that just James Franklin is what he is. No, this was completely different than what James Franklin is. James Franklin, against teams that he should beat, is the greatest coach of all time. Is the world beater. Like, he talks about the 1-0 win every day thing, and I know that like Ty from Solid Verbal like hates that, and I understand like being annoyed with it, but like, Penn State is the team that does that. Penn State is the chalk team. They beat all the teams that they like as a favorite. What's their record as a favorite in the last 5-6 years? Like, do they even have a single loss as a favorite in the last 5-6 years? Like, they're incredible as a favorite. They win all their games. They don't stub their toe, which is why this is so freaking shocking to me. And like, why I also think that a lot of it has to do with the travel after an overtime game, an emotional overtime game. Like, It's one of those things where like that win is 25%. UCLA simplified their offense and got lightning in a bottle for at least one game with Jerry Neuheisel. It's 25%. Penn State completely overlooked UCLA because we all thought UCLA was absolutely a tomato can, just bad, right? 25%. Penn State doing the travel across country. They have one of the furthest travels in the Big Ten to come out here. And 25% any given Sunday or Saturday, right? Like, there's no way Penn State should have lost that game. No way.
No, but college football is like that.
Yeah. All right. Damina in the chat says, do you agree that this Michigan game is a big fork in the road for Riley's tenure? If we're 4-4 by November, things could really spiral.
Yeah, in terms of confidence, I still think that he's not getting fired this year. Let's just put that out there. It'll even be hard to fire him next year. But if you lose to Michigan and you don't beat Notre Dame, if you lose to Nebraska,
I like Aaron in the forum said, you got to go 2-1 the next couple of weeks. And like, it really does feel like if SC really has turned a corner, I guess Illinois defensive game notwithstanding, then they need to be able to go 2-1 in these games, right? Like, and it's crazy to say 2-1 in a 3-game stretch because like you obviously like you don't want to bake in a loss there, but like it is a completely different thing if you're 6-2 with your losses being on the road to Illinois and to Notre Dame, 2 ranked teams. That is a completely different scenario than being potentially 4-4. And even if the 4-4 is losing games by a combined 8 points, which if SC is 4-4, like there's part of me that like that just expects like what it would be, right? Because that's what you saw last year. SC doesn't get their ass kicked. And, to their credit, they don't get their ass kicked. But, like, also, this is why it's even more frustrating that you got to win those games. You got to win those games. You can't. The last 2 seasons were 7-5 and 6-6. You can't go 4-4 by November. You can't do it. So, all right. Last question. Brian says, rumor has it that Nick Saban wants back into coaching. Should USC pursue him?
Yes, but I don't think there's any chance in hell that Nick Saban comes to USC. I feel like he probably views USC as the antithesis of his coaching style. I don't think there's any chance he comes west.
I'm Googling this. He is 73. I will say this. Of all the 73-year-olds in the world, there is nobody I have more confidence in than Nick Saban. There might not be any 73-year-old in the history of Earth that I would have more confidence in than Nick Saban. 73-year-old Pete Carroll, I wouldn't have more confidence than Nick Saban. 73-year-old Rod Dato, I don't know. Whoever you want to throw in there. But it's still a 73-year-old. And like Nick Saban is the greatest coach in the history of the sport, as far as I'm concerned. He's 73 today, which means he'd be 74 next season. But by the way, no, he turned 74 this month. So he turned 75 in the middle of his first season. Like, I would love the ability to sit here and say that, like, Nick Saban is the type of guy that you should go get if you can. But you also don't want a J-Rob too. You also don't want a Bill Walsh at Stanford. You don't want a Belichick at North Carolina. And, like, I think he would be better than all of those guys. But would he put SC in a spot that is better than a 9-3 purgatory? I don't necessarily think so. Especially in the Big Ten when you got to play a schedule next year. Have you seen SC's schedule next year? It's crazy. No. I think it's no. Next year's schedule.
Your best bet
Ohio
is
State, Oregon, Washington, Notre Dame, Indiana, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Rutgers on the road.
your best bet is to identify the next Dan Lanning. Or something similar. Like or the next Kalen DeBoer. Like, you know, Jen Cohen doesn't have a bad track record here. I don't buy the Saban thing.
Yeah, when we did an article on NHL.com years and years ago, like it might literally be 10 years ago, about like what's the profile of a coach, and like the best option is national championship coordinator. The only problem is those guys fail more than anybody else either.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's your Dan Lanning, that's your Kirby Smart, that's your Bob Stoops. Who's that guy? I don't know. Go find that guy. All right, we're wrapping it up. We got to go watch the baseball. So go Cubs. We'll see you guys Wednesday to preview SC in Michigan. Final word? You got it? Anything?
Chaos.
There you go. All right, Mr. P says go grab the Indiana. He's like 66. Something like that. Yeah. Anyway.
Actually, my last word, you're going to love this, is showgirl. As in...
God, okay. No, I'm hitting the,
Life of a Showgirl, Taylor Swift. It's
Taylor
a great
Swift
album.
Is utter trash.
It's a really good album. If you give it a chance, give it a chance. It's so good.
I think less of you that you like that middle school garbage.
I know, but it's really good.
It's not good.
Really
it's
good.
Absolute dog ass.
It's actually really freaking good. It's a grower, guys. If you only listen to it once, then you're not doing it right.